Give me one more second. See if I can go live on TikTok. One second. Oh, there it is. That'll work. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. So this is an article. Let me go ahead and share the screen that happened last Monday. Now, this is not a part of the plan, right? This is just letting you know what I told you. I told you at the very beginning of the year that we are well over the year and a half or the year and a quarter of getting the correction, right? It happens usually every year, a little bit over, maybe a year and a quarter, but that's usually it. The correction usually hits within the year, but I told you we're over that and we're due for a correction. So that's just what this article is saying. This happened last Monday. People are now, kind of realizing that we are well past due for a correction. We have not gotten it. And it's not supposed to go a year and a half. It's not supposed to go 2 years. But the reason why we're having the problem is that there's so much value that's going into the markets that there's no pause for it. Like I said, the real value is climbing like a stock, like a rocket. So where's the correction going to come from? So maybe it needs a little bit of help. Maybe we need a little bit of help of getting that correction. So now I want you to notice this. Because when I looked it up, I saw nothing but YouTube videos and I saw a couple of articles. This one is happened yesterday, March 4th. This happened yesterday at about 6 a.m. So even before the markets opened, they're already talking about NASDAQ is nearing the correction territory. I saw another article that's kind of said the same thing. NASDAQ nears correction territory dragged down by trade tensions. Right, NASDAQ is on a track for a correction as the tariff-induced trade market sell-off continues. This is 20 hours ago. So if we already see NASDAQ is approaching that correction area, we have to assume that eventually the Dow Jones and the S&P will do the same, because I do explain it. If it's a real correction, all three markets will be affected. So isn't it interesting that the markets are going down so much that we're kind of getting that 10% decline? They're forcing the markets to give the correction. But at the same time, when Trump paused on the tariffs, he gave everybody time to jump ship. He gave everybody time to not lose money. Set up your trades, set up your algorithms, reallocate, short the market. Because here's what I'm going to do. And this is the diabolical of it. This is what I saw in an article yesterday. I'm like, man, that's absolutely brilliant. Let me see if I can find it. Dude, I just saw it. Here it is. Trump could reduce tariffs as soon as tomorrow. Commerce Secretary says. This is 12 hours ago. And they're already speculating that he's going to reverse the tariffs. Why would he reverse the tariffs so quickly? Because he never planned to do it. He planned to make the markets fall so that the investors could short the market going down and then ride the wave back up. And then here's the other part, a three-part plan. The first part is making an unnatural correction. Number two, driving the markets down and up to control it so that the huge investors can capitalize and make huge amounts of money. But here's the third thing on the agenda. And I wanted to look up the psychological term, and I want Lisa and Abena to help me with this. What is it called when a nurse hurts a patient and then saves the patient? You guys know? Or a mother. I've heard the same thing when a mother will hurt their baby and then save the baby. Has anybody ever heard this term?
I'm not
Munchausen
Mun,
syndrome.
Munchausen syndrome. That's it. That is what Trump is doing. Trump is going to break the markets and break the economy. And then when the markets go back up, he's going to give himself credit for it. And he's already done it. He's already done it. Because he came into this presidency talking about all the things that he was going to fix when he broke it during his term. He came in talking about all the things he was going to fix, and most people don't realize that what he's fixing is, well, and keep in mind, he's the one that created the inflation by giving all the stimulus to, because here's what you have to keep in mind, guys. He did not have to give that much stimulus away. He could have only give the stimulus to the actual citizens. But obviously, he had to give millions and billions of dollars to corporations. That is what caused the real inflation. So he injected so much money into the economy that he basically broke the economy, and now that's the reason why the Fed had to raise interest rates for 4 years. So now he's coming in and talking about, oh, we're gonna take care of that inflation for you. He's the one that caused it. Putin invading Ukraine, Trump was a part of that. Israel invading Gaza, Trump was a part of that. There's a lot of things that he's going to try to fix that he broke. Munchausen syndrome, I promise you. As soon as the markets recover, oh, look what I did for the American people.
Yeah, Coach, I was thinking something along those lines. Let me put my causal sequence hat on for just a moment.
I love it.
Yeah, when Trump, he's laid off all these government workers, which causes, huge unemployment. Now, my thinking is, and he did this before the tariff talks. So he's thinking, all right, if unemployment, and when the Fed sees that, maybe that'll encourage them to lower the rate, and then Trump can come behind that. And you already saw evidence of that, when announced these tariffs, that Apple wanted to come and do investment here, and like other companies were, making huge, investments in the country. And now, like you said, if he comes back and reverses that, he's already got commitments from these companies, and inflation, may be already, on the uptick. So he's going to look pretty good, if he turns that around.
Yeah, there are two things that just did not make sense to me. And if anybody else has any other thoughts, let me know. But here are two things that just did not make sense to me. I already explained to you that the tariffs are not going to work the way that Trump says it is. And I posted a video from Ronald Reagan back in the 80s explaining that tariffs are not going to work. He says they only work short term. And, oh, look at that. That's the only thing that Trump was looking for. He wasn't looking to keep the trade war going. And that's the craziest part, is that he put the NAFTA agreement in jeopardy so that the billionaires can make more billions. This man upended the entire global economy so that he can shine and say, I'm going to fix it. Diabolical. It's genius,
Yeah, if
It's
that's
genius. It's genius in a Lex Luthor type of situation,
mhm.
but it is absolutely diabolical. This
That is
man, he's breaking the economy just to fix it because nothing else makes sense.
that is a true definition of a narcissist. It's all about me.
Truthfully,
Everything is about me.
this man is laying people off. That's going to affect the unemployment. He's doing everything. Trade war, that's going to raise prices. Like every single thing he's doing. Every Getting rid of the immigrants and the workers that we need that are essential. Like he's doing everything to break this economy, not knowing that he always had a plan of reversing it. And then now when he puts those things back in place, because all he has to now do is go back to Mexico. Now with the trade war ish situation, he can go back to Mexico and make a deal. And then now he's going to allow those immigrants to come back over. We're going to call it Trump immigration. And then now he fixes that. The immigrants can now come back over, putting the workers back in place. He's now restored the NAFTA agreement on the Mexican side, and he's going to find some other way to do the same thing in Canada. That man can care less about fentanyl. The biggest drug problem, and this is historically and statistically accurate. The biggest drug problem is within our own drug industry. It's not imported illegal drugs. The majority of people that have a drug habit in the United States of America are hooked on prescription drugs. This man is breaking the economy so his billionaires can make money. He can control the stock market, and then in the end, he comes out the hero.
I
Any
agree.
thoughts on any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I definitely agree. With Trump, knowing Trump, from New York, with him, it's all about the art of the deal. He wrote a book about this and all that. So, if he can come and put his cape on and fix everything, do a deal, he do deals. He's trying to want to do a deal with Ukraine. Actually, I think you mentioned this before. Like the trade deal with Canada, he's upset about. He signed that. Like he signed that into law. So he's trying to change that. He said that as well. So all about art of the deal and getting the deal that he really is behind and
I when I saw when someone put that in a video, I'm like, oh my goodness. Now that's when I started doing the research, looking for the articles and things. That's when I stumbled onto the correction. I stumbled onto the correction just kind of researching to make sure that that's a real thing. And then it also hit me when I was looking it up that he's going to be able to come out and say I fixed it. That's just his personality. But I was originally looking to see if he was going to reverse the tariffs, and sure enough, here's another article. Trump could ease tariffs on Canada and Mexico. It's not even 24 hours, and they're already talking about him reversing. But he made the markets drop, huge amounts of drop. And then we see the fact that it dropped so much that we're close to a correction. And I think he may keep it in place until we get the correction. That's really what's going to let us know. He's holding off on reversing anything until he sees the 10% correction. And then now these investors can they don't have to worry about the tariff anymore. They no longer have to worry about it. They forced it. Trump is not that smart. And I'm not saying he's not smart, but everybody's smart in certain ways. If this was a real estate deal, he would be smart, but he's not that smart to have this many moving pieces. I never thought Trump would be a puppet president, but he's definitely a puppet president because all he wanted, and this is the deal they made him. Do you want to go to jail? You can what do they call it? Um when you exonerate yourself, not exonerate yourself, but when you exonerate somebody, brain fart. Dang, I cannot
Pardon.
remember the name.
Pardon.
Pardon. That's it. You can pardon yourself. So that's all he wanted. He had so many legal battles and so many people coming after him criminally. Criminally. One of them were ready to sentence him. They were ready to do sentencing in one of them. And he had another 15 cases pending. He had over 35 charges. So what is he going to say? No? Well, here's what we want to do. We want to do this and this and this. What Trump going to say? No? And that's the funniest part is that he's the one that always has leverage on other people. And somebody finally had leverage on him. And he's just sitting back and putting this stuff into place when somebody's telling him to do it. And I got to be honest with you, I don't think everything is Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is one of them. Because I want to tell you something that happened yesterday. I watched the highlights. I was not going to watch that presidential address. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I noticed when I was watching the highlights. Trump introduced the Doge um, department, right? And everybody's standing up and applauding. But if you guys may not have noticed, Elon Musk was bowing. He stood up as soon as they said the word Doge and started bowing. And then after he started bowing, he was a little bit late on the script, right? There's timing when you're on the stage. He came out on the stage a little bit too early because Trump announced Elon Musk, but Elon Musk was already standing up bowing. He didn't wait for his cue. So Elon Musk is just one of the people that are kind of controlling Trump and telling Trump what to do. I think there's the Heritage Foundation that's really behind everything. And like I said, no conspiracy theories. In the past, I have shown you the metrics that is definitely the truth. They're a super PAC. They are lobbyists. That's what they do. But all Trump wanted to do is get all this legal stuff off his back. And truthfully, he never had to pardon himself. Because what did they do? They just dropped it. And then here's something else that he's retaliating against everybody that sentenced him. There was a FBI in New York that just resigned 2 days ago, and he was given no reason why. 2 days ago, the director of the New York branch of the
We lost your
FBI.
sound.
Give me a second. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 2 days ago, the either director or the deputy director of the FBI in New York, he was spearheading the investigation of Trump in New York. All of those cases, all of those lawsuits in New York. And we all know that Trump can't even do business in New York anymore. So Trump is literally finding every single person that, he fired all the lawyers from the Justice Department. So he's going through and cleaning house on anybody that came after him. So like I said, everything is in place. We see all the proof of exactly what's happening. But this is diabolical. This man is literally controlling the markets. He made crypto go up. He paused the markets by pausing the tariffs. He waited a couple of days to give everybody to get their trade and positions in place. They're going to short the market down with that huge correction. And then now when he reverses the tariffs, they're going to be able to ride the wave back up. Now, the way that we confirm this is let's see if we get the correction first. It's already approaching NASDAQ, but it's going to approach the S&P and then the Dow as well. And the only thing about this plan that I like is getting rid of the correction. Let's get it off the plate.
Yeah, but is he trying to get that Dow to go to 41.9 or is it 42.1?
Well, it bounced off of 40,000. No, it bounced off of 41. Let's look at the charts. The initial bounce was around 41, I believe. Let me make sure. No, about 42. 42.5. That's where it dropped to. But I can see this going all the way down. And I even said that yesterday. I don't doubt the markets might even go all the way down to 40. But if it goes down to 40, I think that that's about a 10%. Well, let's look at it. It was sitting at about 40, 43 because we got to take it from where it was. Well, I don't even know where you start that dip at. Well, let's just take it at the cap, right? The cap was 40, 44. Was it
44.5.
45, 45 1?
44.5.
Well, that
Um,
that was the median, that was the average, but I think the peak of that was about around 45 100, 45 200. So what would be 10% of that? Let's look it up. So let me
hey, Coach,
minus. Go ahead.
while you're looking that up, how do your charts, if you don't mind me asking, works for you in an environment like this?
You talking about my spreadsheets?
Yeah, I mean your spreadsheets.
I don't. I haven't really used them because I've been kind of doing the 30-day challenge. Um, so I haven't even looked at it to see how they're updating any of that. I don't know how the numbers look. I don't know how the pivot points looked. I have not looked at any of that in literally almost 30 days. I'm finally out of the challenge, so I'm going to be getting back into it. And I'm telling you right now, I'm building something else. And I'm gonna and let me pause. Well, let me go ahead and give it to you. I was gonna wait for people to come into the room to discover what I was gonna give. I'm gonna give you guys something special in this Fibonacci secret. Remember, I said I would never give away my grid system. I'm not gonna give you the grid, but I am gonna tell you how I built it.
Damn it, almost.
I was gonna wait and see who shows up. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you how I built that grid system, and then I'm going to cut it out of the video. So when I make it available for everybody else, nobody else will ever know that I did it. I'm going to tell you how I built my grid system. It's a Fibonacci secret webinar, and I told you I got new information. If you ever wanted to know how I built my grid system, and then here's the other thing, I'm building another grid system, which is why I don't mind giving away the original. I'm building another grid system. And this one is like, but once again, that is this Saturday at 1 o'clock. The price is 150. I haven't built the calendar yet, so just give me a minute. I'm working on transitioning into simulation. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. So the number that we're looking for, the 10% drop, is 40,680. We have to get the markets down to 40,680, and right now it's sitting at about 42.5. So we have another 2,000 points that the Dow has to drop. Another 2,100. And if Trump leaves it alone, it's going to go down to 40. And I'm pretty sure that if we get the correction on the Dow, we're going to automatically get it on the Nasdaq and the S&P. But this is going to confirm what we're talking about. If they're forcing the correction.
Yeah, but what he put into place is I think is really irreversible because he pulled that uh, string in Canada, and I think that string is, uh, you know, their walk is like you pull a string on a sweater of a Canadian, uh, and they walk in the opposite direction, and it's just unraveling. And
I'm gonna tell you why that may
yeah,
not be why that may not be the case. I'm gonna tell you why. Because uh, we 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 export um we export about 40%. I'm gonna try. I should probably go look it up. And I know I have a video that I found on YouTube or on TikTok that explains it, but let me see if I can find a video that will explain percentage of of imports from NAFTA for NAFTA. because it's not even close. It's not even close. So let me see if I can get the numbers. All right, so the United States exports about 60%. So obviously we give more trade to Canada. And we give, than we do Mexico. But the total exports we give about 62% that we give to both Canada and Mexico. We only get about maybe 5% imports from them. So even with the trade agreements, it's going to be more advantageous for them. Like, we're not going to get the huge hit. Obviously, the tariffs itself are going to affect U.S. companies. But as far as how much is costing with that 25%, if we were to charge them 25 and they were to charge us 25, they would end up being more affected by it than us. So that, like I said, I know they already did the numbers on this. It's going to affect them way more than us. If they did the retaliatory tariffs, it's going to hurt them more than us. And I got to find an article that explains it. So that's the reason why Trump doesn't mind doing it, because if Trump reverses it, they can't say no. Now, I saw somebody else who basically kind of saw the same thing, that Trump is going to reverse. And she even said that Canada and Mexico should keep him in place, since he wanted to test the waters.
I
But
just
I
don't
don't
see
think,
that their companies don't have the loyalty. That's the
well, yeah, there's that part where the actual relationships, it's like abusing your spouse or your girlfriend, and then you ask for an apology, but she's never gonna, look at you the same once you hit her one time. So I agree. I think it's gonna definitely put strain on the relationship, but that was kind of the point that I was making, that they put the strongest trade agreement on the planet in jeopardy so that billionaires can make more billions. Like, don't you already have enough money?
Yeah, it's the supply chains that he's impacting in a lot of these companies. That I mean, behind the geopolitics and the posturing is they're actually behind the scenes moving different departments, different supply chains to different countries, looking at different agreements. So he's impacting how their companies operate within their countries, and I think that's where his biggest strength is, his administration, is that he's impacting these companies because all of them all over are adjusting their supply chains, their manufacturing, their exports, storage. They're changing all that just so they can get around it, because it's easier to do that than just sit there idly and have that cost go up. Because a lot of these guys, I'm pretty sure after the first administration, that they entertained, looking at, uh, you know, malaria, not malaria, but malaria, but one of those Asian countries over there outside of China that's having that they can go to and take their supply chains and stuff. So I think I posted one up there about it. I'm starting to see that more and more. But for me, I think the real caveat is Canada, because once Canada's companies, because those guys haven't forgot, those truckers, those farmers, okay,
Yep.
had their bank account frozen. The fact that our banks can't even lend there, I
Yep.
think that's really the underlying, because that's the easiest thing for them to win. Actually, that's the easiest move for them to win, is to get. They just need one. They just need one, and then the rest are going to follow. They just need one, have an agreement, and the rest are going to come through that window, and it's going to cause a series of disruption that I don't think Canada is ever going to be able to recover from.
Well, I also think that it's irreparable on what he did to Zelensky as well, because um, basically what Trump did was he ostracized Europe, because everybody is feeling what Ukraine is going through, because they know they're next. They know that Russia is a scourge on Eastern Europe. And all of those Eastern Europe companies, and that's why Finland kind of backed them with the denying gasoline for U.S. submarines, because all of those countries over there in Eastern Europe are scared that they're next. So that's the biggest thing that happened with that, is that basically all those European countries are like, well, we can't depend on the U.S. because even with the NATO agreement, because I saw an article on that also, that the NATO agreement, the number one, the biggest contingency in that agreement is that if we go to war, you go to war with us. So people cannot even depend on the U.S. back, sticking with that promise, because they basically pulled everything from Ukraine. Ukraine is not getting any more funding. They pulled everything from there. They abandoned Ukraine over one conversation that they bullied him.
Yeah, coach, like you're absolutely right. Like, we abandoned Ukraine. Like, didn't we have or encourage them to get rid of their nuclear weapons? Like, was that the Budapest Agreement? And in exchange for that, like, we would, promise them some security. Like, am I wrong? Am I?
Well, here's how I narrated it. If it wasn't at the beginning of the week, which I think it was, it might have been last week. But I said that Zelensky basically it has all the cards, because they have to support Ukraine, because they have to defend against Russia. What I didn't know is that there's a switching of sides in a way where maybe the U.S. is kind of backing Russia behind the scenes. That's the only thing that makes sense. So I'm thinking that the U.S. is going to support Europe in keeping Russia from invading the rest of Europe, but that's not the case. And I love using this quote. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
was
was
going to use
gonna
the
say
quote.
that's
I was going to use the quote from The Godfather. It was oh, what is it? Give me a second. Barzini all along. It was Barzini all along. And I think that was from Godfather 2, because there was somebody inside the ranks that was slipping information to the enemy. It was Barzini all along. So there may be some back end deal where the U.S. is kind of secretly backing Russia's invasion, because, like I said, you got the five heads of the global cabal.
But they've been
So
doing that prior to that. It's funny because before Ukraine was you know ostracized like they are now, Germany, remember that pipeline that Russia had connected to Germany?
sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that they had cut Germany off from Russia at the time for a while, and China hasn't really been trading with Europe for a while. So they've kind of, with the first administration, I mean, with Trump's first administration, he came in, they did that, and then Biden didn't do anything really to repair any of that. So and then for eight, I mean, it's confusing to me that Germany and France and the UK, a lot of these guys they're just really posturing because they don't have the corporate backing that the US has to make these type of commitments and pledges. They just don't have the corporate backing, and maybe they don't need it. But that's to me that's very odd to see Europe politics and European companies kind of saying two different things, and maybe I'm the only one seeing it, seeing differently about that.
Well, I I think that's kind of the point, is the fact that European countries are so small individually. Like, even they were to combine, as one European Union, they still don't have the economic or military power to do anything. Even if they were combined as the European Union, even if they were to combine, all of their military, it is a drop in the bucket to what, because, and here's something that I caught in a video. They said that the U.S. military, the current U.S. military, is the largest military in history. And I believe it, because I think the previous largest military was either Rome or Alexander the Great. So that's saying a lot to say that the current U.S. military is the largest military in history. So there is nobody else that can compete with us. And then here's the other thing. Here's the three metrics on how U.S. gets their power. Number one, we know the military. But the U.S. also already controls oil production and the dollar reserve. We're holding all the cards. We don't care what people say. We're the bully. You do it our way, or we're going to use one of these three things to affect your economy. And I think that's another message that's being sent out. All these people that want to get away from the dollar, this is a wake-up call. Like I said, man, this is diabolical. You can go through the causal sequence of everything that this is doing, and it's diabolical. There's no way Trump came up with this, because Trump already said, on day one, you got to get rid of that whole idea of getting away from the dollar. And that's kind of what this was. This is sending out a message to all those countries that are trying to exit the dollar. He's basically saying, if you don't play ball by continuing to use our dollar, this is what's going to happen. All I got to do is sign one executive order, and I'm going to affect your economy. And all he did was use Zelensky as an example. We've seen people do this. They'll go into a town that they just took over, and they'll pick up the mayor. Who's the leader here? We've seen this, right? They invade a town. Who's the mayor? Who's the governor? Who's the sheriff? We've seen these videos, and they just wipe out the person in charge. Well, we're now in charge, and that's kind of what they did with Zelensky. Anybody agree with this?
Yeah, really now it's just a matter of who gets popped first. Zelensky or Elon or somebody. Somebody's got to get popped.
I'm gonna agree with you. I don't know who, but yeah, this level of this level of diabolical, yeah. Somebody's got to get something. But nobody cares, because even the major investors who put this in place, they're already interested in, or not interested. They're already kind of probably calculated that either Trump or Elon Musk might be that collateral damage. Because here's the other thing: if something happens with Trump, do you think that JD Vance is a real president? Can you imagine? Can
It's like watching
anybody
the puppet.
imagine JD Vance being president?
It's like watching the puppeteer drop all his equipment right there in front of you.
Right in front of you. Oh my goodness. Like, at least Trump can hide the strings.
JD Vance is doing so much brown nosing. He need to come up with some air.
Oh my goodness. Everybody's gonna see the strings on JD Vance.
I think that was the only thing that kind of tickled me really was Zelensky. He had to been on that angel dust, because he was bold. He was like, he told JD, oh, so you got a deep voice now. You think you can punk me? And it was the funniest thing. And it was like, oh my God, he didn't say that about. He
Yeah,
didn't point out nobody else but JD Vance.
no,
It's
he
like
was ready for
JD
JD
Vance.
Vance. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
ready for
JD Vance
Vance.
is not too far away from Zelensky. So
Like,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But we've also seen the chihuahua kind of thing, right? As long as a bigger dog is in the room, you can yap all you want. But yeah, there's no way JD Vance would have talked that way if the other people weren't in the room. But either way, guys, like I said, there's a lot of moving pieces to this. I've shown you kind of all the metrics. And like I said, I just consider the fourth kind of advantage of kind of sending a message to everybody. It's our way or the highway. And by attacking JD Vance, by pulling funding, pulling all of their backing, it is sending a clear message to anybody that is thinking about exiting the dollar or betraying the United States of America. And
So
they don't have
watching the
well,
dollar and the oil correlate, eventually is that going to be somewhat of a telltale signal once they
well
get to like a correction?
I haven't looked it up, but I heard because I'm watching Bloomberg, and Bloomberg said that the oil dropped, and we already know that the dollar dropped with the market. So I think everything dropped. I think oil and dollar dropped with the stock market. So I haven't looked it up yet, but that's going to be one of the first things I do is to see if first off, to see if all three markets dropped at the same time, and then number two, on the recovery, I want to see if they go back in line. But I did hear this morning on Bloomberg it said that the oil prices tanked. So like I said, I gotta go in and kind of analyze the oil and see where it's at.
Yeah, because OPEC said they're going to start ramping up a little bit, and he hasn't met with the Saudis since he's been in office. So I think
Well,
when he met with them the first time, they probably got his back.
well, I saw another video where he did meet with them last week, and he basically kind of suggested or encouraged them to produce more. But I don't know if they listen to him. Usually, he has leverage on them to get them to do it. Trump knows where all the bodies are buried. And that's as far as I'm going to go with that. If you know anything about Saudi princes and Saudi and all them people, you should know that there is so let me put it to you this way. That area is known for having harems. All right. And most of the women in those harems are not there willingly. So what I'm telling you is that there is a huge market of trafficking of people, and the destination of a large quantity. I'm going to give you two destinations. Well, I'm going to give you three destinations where the majority of that trafficking goes. It goes to the Russian oligarchs. It goes to the Saudi princes or the Saudi sheikhs, and it goes to the cartels in Mexico and South America. Those are the three destinations, and I would even say to the four destinations. What do they call them in Africa? The there's a word for the people in Africa. The ones that go around and rob and steal. They're not called warlords. What are they called in Africa?
Like something like a pirate, or
Yeah, but there's something that happens on land. They're just like they have the gorillas in South America. They have another term for the people and for the it's not warlord. What do they call them? Oh,
this is looking like this might be our homework to figure this one out.
I know, but let me put in militant leaders. It's on the tip of my tongue. They're not called warlords. So you guys have heard of a lot of these African groups, right? They'll invade an entire tribe, basically kill everybody off. They steal all the women and the children. They turn the children into soldiers. Sometimes they will even make the children kill their parents. And I'm probably going to get kicked off of TikTok for saying all this. But that's what I'm talking about. But the leader of those groups have a name, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, they did a movie on that. I think it's on Netflix. You're right. I can't think of it. I
Yeah.
thought at first I was thinking hyena, but it's a little bit more diabolical. The name
Yeah,
is.
I don't know the name, but basically that's the fourth group. So a lot of the trafficking will go to those. Now the reason why I say them last is because of what I just described. They can go get their own. They can start their own trafficking. So they don't need to ship them in. There's enough going on in Africa where they can get their own. So usually the shipping goes to, like I said, South America, the Middle East, or to the oligarchs in Russia. So I'm saying all that because the survival time for those victims is like 5 years. And I don't know if you guys know this, there is a pit. I don't know if they've covered that pit up, but there used to be a pit in Mexico with nothing but dead bodies of girls. And if you watch what was the TV show about the drug cartel in Mexico? I think like season 3 or
Narcos.
season 4. What was
Narcos.
it called?
Narcos.
It was Narcos, and then there was the other one directly about the actual uh uh kingpin or whatever his name is. But both of them kind of touched on that there was literally like this pit where like every day there was just bodies being dumped into this hole of all of these victims. Like I said, the survival rate is only about 5 to 7 years. So like I said, Trump knows where the dead bodies are, especially when he was so connected to I'm having so many brain farts today. Uh,
Epstein, he was connected to
Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, he knows how that whole system works, and he knows where all the dead bodies are. So that is the leverage that he's usually used when dealing with those people over there. But I don't know if he still has that leverage. I don't know if he has some other type of leverage. We got to see if they're gonna acquiesce to Trump. That'll let us know right there if he has the same leverage that he used to. But I'm pretty sure that what we are describing, there's so many metrics that are in place. But the confirmation is going to be if the markets give us the correction that we're looking for. That's going to be the telltale. And if the markets go down and give us the correction on the Dow Jones, the S&P, and the NASDAQ, then we are going to get, well, that means that this is true. That means that he is going to invoke and reverse the tariffs, and we're going to see the markets climb back up. Now, once again, I don't believe in profiting from these kind of things. I'm going to leave that up for you guys and your style of trading. But I will be watching the markets just to kind of see where they go. But at this point, that's the moment that we're looking for, is waiting for the correction. Now, here's my thing is that, some people will say it doesn't matter how we got the correction. That's up to you. But if you were to try to get back in the markets, you want to wait until after the correction. Wait until after we get the correction. Look for the same 3 higher highs. I would even wait for 3 days in a row. Maybe the market's recovering. Don't hop back in immediately. But I think that's the next event that we're looking for, to see the market give us the correction. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Well, I did a little research a while back as far as the supply chains was concerned. Before a lot of this stuff was happening, I saw him impacting the supply chain with a lot of these countries that are located and trading in foreign currencies. So it's going to expose a fair amount of them that's sitting on foreign currencies and what they do to bring dollars back into the flow and also readjust themselves for the tariffs.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that even though we may see, and this is a very cautionary kind of tale, it's because I keep telling you guys that and I've even showed you quotes from the billionaires that the stock market mirrors the economy. And whenever you don't see the stock market and the economy mirroring each other, or the stock market following, or they decouple, that is the first sign that there's going to be a crash. So that's something else that may come out of this. They purposely did this to create a correction, and then the markets are going to go up to give that short-term, profit. But we may see that there's such a disruption that the damage is done, and we may actually see somewhat of a crash. But for now, let's wait for the correction and let's see how the economy adjusts, because he has to put a lot of things back in place. He's got to put the workers back in place for the farms and the ranches. He's got to vacate this unemployment, firing everybody. What's some other things? He's got to put the trade agreements back in place and get rid of all the tariffs. Try to repair those relationships, which I said all he's got to do is come up with a way to give them something that they want. And I'm pretty sure he can repair the relationship with the government. He may not be able to do it with the leaders. I think he can repair the trade agreement. He may not be able to repair the geopolitical relationship, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but what numbers would you consider a correction, and what numbers are considered a crash?
All right, I did. Well, keep in mind, a crash is 20%. A correction is 10. That's the clear difference between the two. 10% fall is a correction. 20% fall is a stock market crash, and it usually starts at the 52-week high. You take the 52-week high, which I think in the Dow Jones. Now, keep in mind, I'm using the future market, which I should probably be doing the spot. But so right now, I'm showing you calculations for the future, but you should probably use the spot, the Dow Jones spot, and calculate 10% of the 52-week high. And 10% of that, like I said, I put it somewhere around 40,000. If the Dow Jones drops to about 40,000, then we're going to clear the 10% correction. And then the thing about the correction is that it historically, the correction will recover usually within 30 days. It doesn't take a long time for the correction to recover. Because we know that when the markets fall straight down, that it's not real, and then it just kind of comes back to where it was. So even right now, as we're getting all of this fake drop, it's got to come back.
Well, they say the market drops using the elevator and goes up using the stairs.
There you go. But this time it's going to use the escalator. It's going to go up a lot faster than just the stairs. So I thought this was real interesting. I'm like, man, that makes complete sense, because nothing else makes sense. Why would you sabotage? And every metric, every economist, every leader is telling you this is a bad idea. I posted the speech from Trudeau. He was like, nobody wants this. Nobody asked for this. This benefits nobody. So it's hard to make sense of it, but this makes sense. Strategically manipulating the stock market. And once again, guys, well, here's the final thing that I wanted to mention. It eats Trump up. It absolutely eats him up that he is only a billionaire, and even people speculate that that may be false because he's mostly debt. The reason why he claims to be a billionaire is because he's mostly debt. He's in debt billions. But and we've seen people who act like they're rich, but they're not really rich. They have a lot of debt. So it seems like they have all of these rich things. But they're just robbing Peter to pay Paul on the back end. So I think that that's another thing on Trump's agenda on the second time around is he wants to get to that level of the oligarchs. He wants to be over the 100 billion. He's never cleared. I don't think he's ever cleared 10 billion. Trump has never cleared $10 billion. He's always been at about 2 and 3. But he's been envious of these oligarchs with their 100 billion, their 300 billion. I think that's what he's trying to create for himself. So believe me, every single time he's controlling the markets, trust me when I tell you that he is investing. He has a shell corporation. He has an offshore structure where nobody knows that it's his company, and he has people in place. He probably has a burner phone that he goes into the bathroom, because if anybody finds out about this, guys, he can be impeached. If people find out that he's controlling the stock market for his own benefit, which I know for a fact he is, but if people can prove that this man is in there making all of these decisions, and he's got somebody in his family or a cousin 3 times removed controlling an offshore structure, and he's given the heads up on every single Trump announcement that's coming out. Trump is stacking billions of dollars. Go ahead.
I'll do you one further. He'll at some point he's gonna brag about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's been impeached twice.
Oh yes,
but he's not been convicted. He won't be convicted. So,
and that's that Teflon Don, right?
mm-hmm.
You can't
give it a while. Give it a while, but he'll brag about it.
Oh, it'll be exactly that in the stand. You want the truth? Because that general wanted to admit about that I can't remember what it's called, red something. He wanted, and I think that's what they said in the script, right? Oh, I think he wants to admit it. Isn't that what Weinberg said when they met the day before? They were like, oh, he wants to admit it. I think he wants to, but if you go up there, you got to commit. I think Trump wants to brag about it. Definitely. You want the truth? I definitely think that.
Good point. Brag about it and then go straight into Wesley Snipes. If I'm going down, everybody going down.
No, I mean, but it's just his nature to brag about being smarter, whether it be on a criminal level or whatever. Is that I was able to do this, so my presidency should go down in history of me being so smart that I did what others just thought about, which others never think about that. I don't think, not to that degree.
I totally agree with this, man. I totally agree with this. That he is going to brag about it. And if he doesn't brag about it during his presidency, when he gets senile, which is not close, I'm sorry, it's not that far off, I believe that after he gets done with the presidency, he may kind of hint towards it. But I think that this is the only way that he's going to get that $100 billion kind of valuation that he's always wanted. He's never been satisfied with his 3 or 4 billion, and I question that he was ever a billionaire. I think he was those billions of dollars in debt, and I think the value and I told you guys this, when it comes to rich people, they borrow against their assets. So he's never been billionaire liquid. He just owned billionaire level property and assets. But even those assets were in debt. And that's why I say he's not a real billionaire. You're not a billionaire until you sell the assets. And that's the very, that's the very um model of crypto. And even that video with Sheaf, that's what he says. He says you haven't really capitalized and gained from crypto until you sell it and make profit. So like I said, guys, there's a lot of complex and convoluted kind of things that in this game plan. And there's just no way that I believe that Trump had the capacity to put some level of plan like this in place. But we do now know what the plan is. Let's just kind of look for those confirmation, those dominoes, to see if this is what's going to happen. But the plan all along was never for those trade agreements to go long term. Just enough to affect the markets, drop the markets where the investors, the institutions can capitalize and make money. And I also think that after the markets recover, I think that the crypto is still going to fall. He propped it up as much as he could, but he cannot continue to prop that thing up. I still think that Doge, because that was something that they talked about yesterday. Because keep in mind, there was a judge that basically revoked the whole Doge thing. So when Trump got up there and announced the Doge and announced Elon Musk as being the front man for it, that completely went against a judge's order. So you're also going to see a battle in the courts over that Doge. And once that Doge is dismantled and it goes back to the digital services department, you're going to see crypto crash more than it already has. There's no amount of propping that can happen. Once you see Trump and Elon Musk go part their ways, you're going to see crypto, Tesla, and GameStop fall. Guaranteed. It's not real. All right, guys. I feel a little empty not doing a 30-day challenge. But let me show you what the format of what's moving forward as we go into the second set of our 90-day masterclass. I've already had a couple people reach out to me on wanting to join the masterclass. I will reach out to you today to finalize you guys joining. So don't think I'm ignoring you. I will get with you today to see who wants to join. But let me show you the format on how I call it the 30-day simulation. This is the next set of the masterclass, the 30-day simulation. Am I on the wrong computer? No, I'm on the right computer. Give me a second. Did I download this yet? No, I didn't download it. So let me pull up the cloud. I haven't downloaded the document, but I can show it to you on the cloud on how it looks. And when I find out the name of the African leaders, I'm gonna post it in the student room. I cannot remember what they called them. It wasn't warlord, it was something else. I'll figure it out. All right. Here it is, 30-day simulation worksheet. Let me go ahead and share that. Well, no, this is on my browser. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, I can see it
Yes, I
going.
can see it.
Okay, so this is basically going to be the format moving forward. I'm not doing the 30-day challenge. I'm not posting on social media anymore. So basically, every 2 days, notice how up in the right corner it says day 31 and 32. So I'm basically, as right now, I'm basically giving one for every other day, right? So every 2 days we're going over the material in simulation. So you're either going to get one of these every day or every other day moving forward. Obviously, right now we're going through 7 days of the cheetah instincts. We're starting off with 4 phases of protection, power, precision, proficiency. Basically, it's outlining how you're going to implement these things in your simulation day one, because this is setting the tone for the whole 30 days where we want to set up your simulation right here, right? We're developing a training plan, implementing the routine. But notice the very first thing is set up your training, your simulation account, set up your rules, right? So we're going through every single thing that you do step by step as we take you into your simulation. All right. And you guys can always come back into the masterclass and ask any questions. So we're going to take you through this step by step. I'm going to keep it broad. I'm not going specific. I want you to come to me for the specifics. I'm going to keep it very broad because we only have 30 days. I cannot break this down into smaller pieces. So I'm going to give you these step by steps. If you have an issue or a question about any of the steps, reach out to me in the masterclass room. I'll be able to explain it in more detail. But I can't go any more in depth. Otherwise, we're never going to get through all of the material that we need to in the 30 days. So as you go through these worksheets and you have additional questions, you have to come back to me in the masterclass room, and then that benefits everybody else. Maybe somebody else has the same question. So I'm keeping it as broad as possible. I'm giving you the step-by-steps. Now, in this situation, these are not literal step-by-steps, and I do outline that each phase and step is progressive, right? So you're basically going to start with one, and then you're going to add on to the next. And then also, even though we're discussing it over the 2 days, it may take you the whole 30 days to implement it. So you're just slowly adding on to what you need. Now, when I say need, you need everything. But just kind of go over each step and just add it in a little bit of time. Some of the stuff you can do the same day, but don't push yourself trying to do everything all at once. It's progressive. So every day you're going to get new things that you're working on, that you're adding to your trade craft, you're adding to your style, you're adding to your plan. And then it's not specifically step by step. You might, in your situation, you may be able to change the order. It's not literally a step by step. I will let you know when it is. So a lot of this stuff might be interchangeable, but for the most part, I do try to keep it in some kind of consistent order where it make the order makes sense. But you may find certain things in your situation where you would want to do one thing before something else. No problem. So it's not a hard and fast rule where you have to do everything step by step. Most of them are in the right order, but you may want to change something depending on your unique situation. All right, but protection, power, precision, proficiency is the first thing. So I'm gonna be posting this sometime today. I'm also gonna give you a set of rules because that's what tomorrow is. Oh yeah, well 2 days from now we're gonna go with trading rules. So I'm gonna have a set of rules for you, and like I said, we're gonna slowly build your simulation. And then somewhere at the end of the 30-day simulation, I'm probably gonna do simulation in the live. Even though you're not a part of the masterclass, you're going to benefit from being in the Zoom. I'm probably going to simulate for a couple of days at the very end of the 30-day simulation. So just stay tuned to that. But the thing is, and you know at this point, the only people that are really going to benefit from that simulation are the people that took the masterclass. So some of you might be able to benefit from what I'm explaining, but you're not going to understand certain terms. You're not going to understand the steps. You're not going to stay in the connections. And I'm trying my best to make it affordable and to make it, a situation where you can limp into this. And I'm telling you right now, the best way to limp into this is by joining the subscription. If you can't pay the price up front, you can pay in installments. And at least you get you in. But I'm going to leave that up to you if you want to pay up front or limp in with the subscription. All right, but I'll leave it there, guys. I just at least want to show you the format that we're basically posting these kind of worksheets in the masterclass. Like I say, every day, every other day, and it's just completely progressive, building and building and building. And then by the end of the 30-day simulation, you should be actively simulating. We're going to introduce more education. We're going to introduce more analysis. We're going to introduce more causal sequences and predictions. We're building it step by step. Application, application, application. But I at least wanted to show it to you what it looks like. And I probably can even show you the schedule. Final thing, let me show you the schedule. As soon as it finished loading. So this is the second 30-day schedule. That's the first. Right here. This is the next schedule. And I am missing a few days at the end, but pretty much I have everything in place. And basically we're going over the cheetah instincts. We're going over, that's basically kind of the format, going over each cheetah instinct. And then from there, we got to go into the routine. And then after the routine, we go into more economic education, economic events. We're going to go into more, we're going to add the consumer spending, the inflation, the housing. And then the final at the end, we're going to go through the pace. And the pace is reintroducing give me a second. What's the pace based on? Is it? No, the 4 elements. Protection, power, precision, proficiency. Is that the 4 elements? No, the 4 elements of control. What are the 4 elements of control? I'm drawing a blank today. Oh, I'm drawing a complete blank. But either way, like I said, I didn't get enough sleep. There are 4 elements of control. I cannot, for some reason, remember what they are. But that's what the PACE is for. PACE is an acronym that gets us into the 4 areas of control. Now, you notice that we're starting with the acronyms at the end of the 60 days. When we get into the last 90 days, the 30-day execution, we're going to hit up all of the acronyms, not all of them, but all of the key acronyms. We're going to start hitting those up in the last 30 days. So I have somewhat of a tentative agenda on what we're going to do for the 90-day challenge. Believe me, I'm going to insert different webinars, workshops, all of that as well. But I at least want to show you the tentative kind of schedule. I don't know why I can't remember the 4 elements of control. Anyway, I'll post it in the masterclass when I remember what it is. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? I think that might be it. Oh, Derek's back. Welcome back, Derek. That's awesome. All right. I think that's it, guys. Any final questions or comments or concerns? We're basically monitoring this master plan, seeing if the markets are going to do. I was supposed to do the economic event. I'm not doing anything. We're not doing anything until we can confirm this master plan. I am out of the markets. I'm not. It's all fake. It's all modified. I'm not doing anything until I can confirm exactly what's happening in the markets. I'm not analyzing nothing. I'm not trading anything. I am out. But we're gonna see if we can confirm that Trump is just manipulating the markets. All right. All right, guys, we're gonna leave it there. Let me go ahead and get off of TikTok and YouTube. I want to thank everybody that showed up. We'll see everybody tomorrow on YouTube. We'll see you guys tomorrow at about 7:30, 7:45.